And I very sincerely, very, very sincerely apologize. I have to be better at being aware of those things.
You fucked up, bro.
My closest Jewish friend in the world has flown to DC this week in part to help me with this.
I'm mentally ill. My Jewish friend's gonna come fly into DC and fix me.
But my concern is that these dinners will serve as a sort of informal litmus test. And I'm worried that they will hurt many Christians who are not anti-Semitic, but don't feel comfortable attending a Shabbat dinner.
I mean, that young kid, I think, is very much the voice of a lot of the younger generation of conservative Christians who are like, maybe they're not they're not even against Israel, but they're like, this is too much now.
This Heritage Foundation thing is wild to me. This Heritage Foundation thing, this stems from appearance of Nick Fuentes on Tucker Carlson. Full thing is on Twitter if you want to watch it. It was not very provocative. What the fallout from that is that people started to choose sides because the Zionists and the Israel Firsters came out and they want Tucker canceled. Levin went on the Republican Jewish Coalition stage and said, "What do you mean we don't cancel people? We cancel people all the time." Well, they want Tucker canceled. So then this new movement came out with the hashtag that said, "I stand with Tucker Carlson," or "I stand with Tucker." We're all caught up. Kevin Roberts of the Heritage Foundation issues this statement on Thursday, October 30th.
I'll have more to say on this in the coming days, but today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. And we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public. We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, what I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies. And that's where it will stay.
Now, it was a little bit longer, but the most important part of that is when he says venomous coalition, and obviously he stands up for Tucker and Nick in, the easy way, the milquetoast way. I mean, it's easy to just say, I support free speech.
If I were to say horrible coalition, ugly coalition, venomous, I just don't understand what's wrong with venomous.
That's what they picked up on, and they said that's an anti-Semitic trope. And the fact that it needed to be explained to me was, and I feel like I'm pretty well versed, especially in racism. So I was like, what is this? This doesn't conjure up a vision of Jews or anything anti-Semitic in my brain. I just thought of a pit of vipers.
Yeah.
I guess the pit of vipers is the anti-Semitic thing. I don't know. And, everybody's saying it's in scripture. It's in scripture. And I know that. I know that it's obviously a scriptural scriptural reference. But at the same time, that makes me take even more issue with it, because you're saying like John's the Baptist's words are reason to be canceled. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about the Heritage Foundation?
So the Heritage Foundation is a classic conservative think tank. It's mostly aligned with sort of Reagan era sort of policies and has sort of that flavor to it. It's not totally neocon, although it has had like sort of a streak, but it is very much about American patriotism, anti-communism, pro-capitalism and pro-markets. It's very much upholding of sort of the classic Republican values. And here I mean the Republican Party's values. And it has been at the forefront, actually, historically, of sort of Red Scare tactics and things like that. Even though they talk about robust speech in the Cold War, they were not so interested in robust speech, I'll tell you that much. They have deep pockets. They have a broad network of donors, and they have been very close to political power, especially in the Republican Party since its inception, pretty much. And they've been able to guide a lot of policies. I think back to a lot of very important people, even in the Bush administration, Reagan, of course, other prominent Republicans who've been involved. Mostly it's been sort of the premier think tank for that side of the aisle.
So after this, what is known to be kind of a tight ship, the Heritage Foundation starts leaking like a sieve. The emails pour out, the videos pour out, private meetings pour out, private conversations. The first one that comes out is this National Task Force for combating anti-Semitism. They send a letter, blah, 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 condemning Kevin Roberts. They want to have a meeting, talks about Tucker, Nick, yada, yada, yada. They have a meeting. He apologized to them at the meeting, and he's handling the issue. This goes on. So the task force continues. They say, we're going to comb through everything, and we're going to make a list of recommendations. Among those recommendations were removing the video that caused the firestorm, which, why does that matter? The video's everywhere. This is verbatim. There are 100 million Christians in the U.S. that found Tucker's comments deeply offensive when he called the Christian Zionists a heresy and a mind virus.
I don't know. Are all those 100 million Christians evangelical, crazy, radical Christian Zionists? Because I don't think so. I think there are Catholics in there, and I think there are Orthodox Christians in there, both of which condemn Christian Zionism.
Correct. 2, apologize to Christians and Jews who are steadfast members of the conservative movement and believe that Israel has a special role to play, both biblically and politically.
Sorry, as a conservative Christian person who went to seminary, I can tell you that the church is the new Israel. Israel politically is gone. In terms of Zionism, it's a no-brainer. And it just doesn't make any sense. What are these people saying?
Wait, it's so much more insane. This is next. Condemnation of any content that Tucker Carlson has hosted, not hosts in the future, has hosted. They want him to condemn the whole library, or statements he has made without calling for his cancellation or end to your friendship, but an acknowledgement that you and Tucker have disagreements and you disagree with, and condemn his anti-Semitic content. We will consider the matter closed. Who the hell are you to consider anything closed? 4, you pointed out repeatedly that we face a challenge in reaching disenfranchised young men who are caught in the spells of Nick Fuentes and others. To address this issue specifically, we recommend hiring a visiting fellow, one who shares mainstream conservative views on Israel, Jews, and Christian Zionists, who would help identify strategies and tools with Gen Z and beyond. Again, we're back to this. They're terrified of losing, especially the young male vote. They already lost it, which was shown in that blue wave over this past week. And lastly, the most important one, the task force members would also like to host Shabbat dinners with the interns and junior staff of Heritage in partnership with Heritage to host conversations on Judaism and the Judeo-Christian tradition. Why do we need Shabbat dinners to have Jews teach us about the Judeo-Christian tradition? Okay, but either way, it comes off as an invitation. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure, except the last lines after the recommendations. If we are not able to come to an agreement soon, the relationship between the Heritage Foundation and the task force will be irrevocably harmed. Now, keep in mind that people that are on this task force board, specifically Victoria Coates, is in the Trump administration. Doesn't that read like a threat?
Yes.
So this email goes out to everybody, all of the underling with the recommendations. They tell them the recommendations about the dinners and all of that stuff. And like, we're going to probably implement these things. Stop anti-Semitism, calls for Kevin Roberts firing. Everything is crazy.
Why can we never invite these Jewish members to church?
We're going to get there and you're going to have your time to shine. So of course, Kevin, being the cuck that he is, apologizes.
Term venomous coalition. A terrible choice of words, especially for our Jewish colleagues and friends who understand that, given history, to be a trope used against them. And I very sincerely, very, very sincerely apologize to you in particular and to all of you for using that. It was not my intention to use a trope. I should have been better, so I hope you understand that. But I have to be better at being aware of those things. My closest Jewish friend in the world, Yoram Hazony, has flown to DC this week in part to help me with this, personally and professionally. He does not have to do that. And he may decide after we meet later today, Roberts, you're not worth it.
I'm mentally ill. My Jewish friend's going to come fly into DC and fix me. I'm sorry, guys. You fucked up, bro. Never.
People are flying to rectify this one phrase.
Right. So the venomous coalition thing, they still ask him to resign, even following the apology. The resignation demands come in. But if it can't get any worse, this then leaks. I don't know why it leaked or how it leaked.
I also have a question about it, given some of the leaks that occurred yesterday. Right now, the National Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism is demanding that Heritage host Shabbat dinners with Heritage interns and junior staff. The faith of many Christians here at Heritage, myself included, would prevent us from attending these dinners in good conscience. As you know, for many Christians, Friday is a special day of prayer and abstinence to commemorate the death of Christ. I assume that no staff will be required to attend the Shabbat dinners, but my concern is that these dinners will serve as a sort of informal litmus test, and I'm worried that they will hurt many Christians who are not anti-Semitic but don't feel comfortable attending a Shabbat dinner. I would like to know how you guys would respond to that concern and how we can be sure that the dinners won't be used that way when the people requesting them or someone has already been leaking them to the media.
Thanks, Evan. The recommendations, and that was the word, there was no demand was made. That is a gross mischaracterization of what was issued by the co-chairs of the Anti-Semitism Task Force yesterday, of which I am one. And I take some offense to that characterization. This was a recommendation, one of 6 recommendations that the co-chairs came to in consultation with the task force to try to provide Dr. Roberts with a path forward. As I said, they were recommendations. They came out of the conversation, which we were grateful to have with you on this topic. And one of the offers was if any Heritage staff would like to participate in this kind of a dinner as an educational exercise, not as a betrayal of their faith, that was an open offer from the task force. It was made in generosity of spirit and in the hopes of increased dialogue on this issue. And Evan, I'm deeply sorry that you could not see that as a generous offer, but rather a personal attack on you. It was not.
Did you see his face? They won't even let him answer anymore. You apologize and shut the fuck up. You're done.
They took control of the situation. I mean, that young kid, I think, is very much the voice of a lot of the younger generation of conservative Christians who are like, why do I have to go to Shabbat dinner? Maybe they're not they're not even against Israel, but they're like, this is too much now. Like, they're sort of the crowd that's like, okay, Israel's there, but why do we have to give them money? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do all this? Like, it's starting to seem like the inverse of the woke culture. Like, how you had to do all of that Ibram X. Kendi, trying to deconstruct your whiteness and things like that. Now it's trying to deconstruct your Christian conservative anti-Semitism, deicide, we Jews are not responsible. Meanwhile, I have Protestant friends who are like, but it says here, the blood be on us and on our children. And, wait, what does that mean? This is crazy, It just seems to me that people are trying too hard to try to force these two traditions to be one. And of course, I believe that if I were to invite young Jews to the Orthodox Church to come and experience the beauty of the Orthodox liturgy, I would be called anti-Semitic. I would be called, are you trying to convert us? But wait, why do I have to go to you? If you're not going to come to me, why do I have to go to you? Right? So you see how I feel like there's some professional level gaslighting here.
I mean, look at the email. If we don't come to an agreement, this relationship's irrevocably harmed. around. You better come to our dinners till we teach you about Judeo-Christian tradition at a Jewish home on Friday. Who, for an Orthodox Christian and for a very devout Catholic, Friday is a day of fasting, penance, reflection on the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Why would they spend it with Jews?
I don't even have a problem going to Shabbat, but then they should come to Divine Liturgy, because Divine Liturgy is where we eat. Like, okay, yes, they say a prayer and they eat. We say a prayer and we eat the body and blood. Come to liturgy, no problem. I'm all about, I mean, I studied religion. I have 2 masters in religion, right? I'm all about it. I've been to Jewish services. I've been to Muslim services. I've been all over. I've seen it all. Hindu, Buddhist, whatever. My whole thing is that you can't use that as a cudgel to try to sort of dominate one of the groups if you're not willing also to go to the other side. Now, I have seen some of them do that, but I guarantee you for some of the more devout and religious types, you wouldn't see them in a church.
No, they're not allowed. Not by us. They're not allowed by themselves to go into churches.
And by the way, this is also very funny because there were some, I grew up in a neighborhood that bordered a Hasidic Jewish neighborhood. And even amongst people, they wouldn't come into our spaces because we had pork as well. I'm sorry, it's a Balkan Orthodox, it's like the Greeks, the Serbs, the Albanians who were Orthodox with us, the Bulgarians. I mean, they all had pork and, roasting the pig and, pork souvlaki and pork, gyro. They wouldn't come anywhere near our places because it wasn't kosher. I understand, of course.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it cuts both ways. For somebody, especially very conservative, I think that that's something to throw out there. Clearly, I think this is going to cause even more chaos within these organizations, especially amongst some of the younger, more trad kind of people.
Well, more keeps coming out. So Bethany Mandel, who I don't know if you know this woman, she's a psychopath. Well, she's a convert to Judaism. The Shabbat dinner idea was mine. I did not demand it, Evan. I thought it would be nice. You're welcome to my dinner at my home with my 6 kids if you prefer. My DMs are open. How about no? Her invitation then leaks. What is this shit? With that in mind and Charlie Kirk in my heart, I'd like to recommend Heritage hosts some Shabbat dinners with their staff and interns. It's not a forced trip to a Holocaust museum or Auschwitz. It's just an effort to build bridges and make connections between the future of the movement and our community. Okay, well, then it goes on. Dinner at my home is inherently off the record. Oh, we know, girl, because our phones are off for the Sabbath. I cannot promise you that one of my children will not fart on you. Okay. We host them almost every week for people in Washington. That's the important part. We host them almost every week for people in Washington. Oh. Okay. Now let's look into Beth a little bit. This is back during, what is this, Protective Edge, maybe? I don't remember what operation Israel's done so many, 2014 June. Not nuking these fucking animals is the only restraint I expect, and that's because the cloud would hurt Israelis. Okay, so maybe she was having a bad day. It was a long time ago, 11 years, yada, yada. Here's another one. This is anti-Semitic. The person replies, don't make enemies where you have none. Many Christians have shown sympathy toward Israel. It is unwise to call a core tenet of our faith anti-Semitic simply because you find it offensive. We want all people to believe in Christ, so it is not a unique feature we apply to Jews. She says, if you want Jews to stop being Jewish, you are my enemy. This is a convert. Do you think that young Christian men want to have dinner with this person?
I don't. I wouldn't want to.
Terrified of her.
I'm going to nuke the animals? You mean you're going to nuke Palestinian Muslims, Orthodox Christians, Catholic Christians, evangelicals, Lutherans, atheists, agnostics, whoever, maybe a couple Buddhists in there? You're just going to nuke them all?
We can't, because it'll hurt the Israelis. When she converted, her blood changed, her DNA changed. Now she's
everything changed. She's just part of the chosen people now.
And I know we went into a little bit deep dive, and it's a little bit salacious and gossipy, but I think this is really indicative of something that's going on under the surface. This is a very large think tank that's in the forefront of this administration and the GOP and the conservative movement. The Heritage Foundation is a very big think tank. Yeah, and he resigned. At the end of all of that, he resigned. Not only did they take over, they put him through a humiliation ritual and bullied him into resigning at the end of the day anyway. And now the whole thing is turned on its head.
Like we always say, you never have to apologize. I don't think he did anything that warranted an apology. Venomous coalition, how can that possibly be bad? I mean, Iran called the embassy den of spies and things like that, but also like the US embassy at the time and the British embassy. I mean, but they all would use this kind of language. Like, I don't know, it's just a common language that people use, especially for different groups, coalitions, countries that are maybe you have an antagonism with. But I don't see that word as specifically anti-Semitic. I mean, if he started to use pejorative words, I could understand it. But venomous and he said coalition. He wasn't singling out. It's a coalition means different groups. I'm sure there were Christians in there. There were all sorts of people spewing hate at the Heritage Foundation, at him, to cancel Tucker, to get rid of anyone connected with that crowd. You know what the funny thing is? These people were the ones who were crying and bitching and complaining about cancel culture, but they're the most authoritarian when it comes to this.
I know. It's just psychotic. Like, this put the whole thing in perspective is that this all stems from venomous coalition comment of him just not wanting to cancel Tucker Carlson because he was being like pushed into publicly condemning him, like having the foundation publicly condemn him or something along those lines, or cancel their association with him.
And why? Like, what did Tucker do that warrants a cancellation?
Had Nick Fuentes on. Well, it really started back with, I think one of the first was he had the guy from the GHF on there. And he also had, they're really gunning for the guy from Martyr Made. What's his name? Daryl Moore? Is that his name?
I think so, yeah.
He had done a few episodes with Tucker Carlson. They really got upset about that. And then he had the guy from GHF, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, Lieutenant Aguilar. Then he had George Papadopoulos' George Stephanopoulos' sister, the nun.
His son, yes.
That was a huge deal. They went crazy over that. And then he had Nick Fuentes on, and they're called. We've also been through the TPUSA drama where they were trying to bully Charlie into not allowing Tucker come to speak at TPUSA events because he was anti-Semitic.